Hello and welcome to the Talmudic Channel. So this channel gonna be dealing with learning Talmud. So what does that mean? So first, let's start with a short introduction. We'll be able to learn in a relaxed manner. We'll be like laid back, relaxed, and we'll be able to learn how to learn Talmud. So we're gonna learn Aramaic. We're gonna learn not the Syriac Aramaic, not the Suryat, but sometimes I'll be able to emphasize the differences between some words and pronunciation about the different types of Aramaic. For example, like the Babylonian Aramaic, the Yerushalmi Talmud Aramaic, which is different. We'll start with a short introduction about what is the Talmud and what kind of a space it takes with the oral tradition. We have like the Torah Sheba'al Peh, which is the oral tradition, and we have the Torah Shebechta, which is the Torah that was given to Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the five Chumashim, the five Chumshei Torah, and we have the Tanakh. The Tanakh is like the expansion of the Torah, like farther down, like historical times is a bit later. And most of the things that, like in the Talmud, would take for types of a drasha, they will take some psukim from the entire Tanakh, and some psukim will be from the Torah. So learning halacha and things like that, the Jewish law for things, will be taken and learned from psukim. We'll bring an introduction about to what place is the Talmud taking about all the Jewish law, Jewish traditions, and things like that. And I hope you will be able to sit and relax and learn. We'll learn together. And after that, hopefully, you will be able to borrow from your local shul, like a set of Gemara or a book, and start learning it. So you will be able to learn all the expressions, the Talmudic expressions, and things like that. So we'll start with this first introduction. We'll use the Rambam, which was one of the greatest sages of all time. He was like a genius, Maimonides. You probably heard of him. He was a great, like a philosopher, and he was a great Torah scholar. So we're going to use his introduction to explain what is the implication of the oral law and what was the tradition of how the oral law was given from Kush Baruch Hu, from Hashem, from God, and down all the way to our time. So we'll see how this oral tradition goes from a generation to generation and been maintained with a very specific types of rules, and no one can change anything. So no one can say, "Oh, this was then and now is this," because it's a very specific set of rules, and we'll be able to learn the entire thing. So we'll start with the Rambam, and Rambam starts his introduction to all the Masirah, all the tradition of the handing down generation by generation of the oral law. So he starts with Kol HaMitzvot Shenu Lo LeMoshe B'Sinai. So we'll speak sometimes in Lashon HaKodesh, sometimes in Aramaic. Most of the time, I'll be able to translate as it is, as it sounds, and what is the meaning of everything. So let's start with that. So after that, I hope you will be able to enjoy yourself learning this wonderful wisdom of how to learn Talmud, how to change your mindset, how to improve your learning, your mind, your brain, your memory, everything. So the Talmud has this ability to change minds. So that's the greatest thing. Like in Korea, the South Koreans, they have like 50 million people learning Talmud because they know that it's very important and how much it improves the brain. So that's how it is. So we start with that. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you'll be able to see all the new releases I'm releasing of each learning session. I hope I'll be able to keep them quite short, not so long, so it will not be so heavy on you. So let's start. Kol ha-mitzvah shenitnu lo leMoshe b'Sinai. So all the mitzvahs, all the Jewish rules, all the Jewish law that was given to Moshe on Mount Sinai. So Hashem, God, gave Moshe. He went up to Shemaim and he was doing like an elevation. Maybe sometimes we'll be able to learn how it all happened. But for now, we'll keep it simple, and maybe down the track, we'll be able to look into how he was able to transcend from his physical body and go into the spiritual realm and receive all this wonderful Torah and all this wisdom from God himself. So כל המצוות שניתנו למשה בסיני בפירושן ניתנו. So they gave as they are, they were given to Moshe Rabbeinu. Shneimar, there is a pasuk that we find in Sefer Shmot, which is one of the chumashim of the Torah, 5 chumashim. We have Bereshit, Shmot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Dvarim. So in Sefer Shmot, on the Perek of Dalet, we find a pasuk. A pasuk, it's like a verse. We'll be able to learn from verses. Sometimes they need a deeper understanding of Lashon HaKodesh, of the words. What do they mean? So it starts with that. Ve'etena lecha et luchot ha'even v'haTorah v'hamitzvah. So I shall give you those like the Decalogue and then the Torah and the mitzvah. So we clearly see that there is a separation between them, and at the end of the day, they mean something. Each one of them means something individual, something specific. So Torah, that's the Torah Shebechtav, that's the written Torah, what we can find today in each Bible, in each Tanakh. You could find, when I say Bible, I will mean like the 24 books without the extension of like the Evangelion and other things. When I'm saying Bible or Tanakh, for you, if you're not a native Hebrew or native Lashon HaKodesh speaker, when I say Bible, I mean the Tanakh, all right? Not without the extensions, all right? The later extension were added, and what's like the word called Bible today, it's like was added like in a very much later period and was accepted only by certain crowds. So we're going to take the 24 books that is accepted on the Jewish tradition, and those are the 24 books of the Tanakh, and that's it. And the rest of the, like farther down from that, we'll learn about the oral tradition. So we're going to get to that in a minute. So a Torah is a Torah Shebechtav, all right? So Torah, it's the written Torah. In the pasuk, in the verse we learned before, so Shneimar v'etin lecha et luchot ha'even v'haTorah v'hamitzvah. So the Decalogue and the Torah and the mitzvah. The Torah is the Torah, the 5 chumashim, and the mitzvah is a mitzvah. That's what the verse says. So the Rambam explains each one of those words, what do they mean in the pasuk. So Torah is the Torah Shebechtav, the written Torah. Mitzvah, that's the perush, it's the interpretation of each of those in particular verses and things and ways of learning inside the Torah. So v'tzivan la'asot Torah, he gave us like he commended us to like fulfill the Torah and follow it and and live by it. Al pi mitzvah. So by the mitzvah, which is the interpretation, we find that those are the interpretation that went down with the tradition, were given to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he was learning farther down. We'll see how those traditions got all the way to us. So the mitzvah is the perush, and we are commanded to do the Torah, to fulfill what is in the written Torah by those interpretation that God, Hashem, gave to Moshe Rabbeinu in the oral tradition. All right. So v'tzivanu la'asot Torah al pi mitzvah. So he commanded us to fulfill the Torah according to those interpretations. All right. Zo hanikra haTorah sheba'al peh. That's the oral tradition. Oral tradition, that's the tradition also was given to Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai, and there is no separation between the two. You cannot understand one without the other. There is sometimes will be written like a word, and the simple interpretation will be different to what the tradition is, because it's very many years ago. So to be able to understand such an ancient language, you need a tradition to be able to know which each word, what did they mean, and what's the real meaning of each word. So, Kol Torah, Ktava Moshe Rabbeinu. So, the Ktava of Moshe Rabbeinu, he was writing the entire Torah. Before he died, he wrote the entire Torah. B'chtav Yado, in his own handwriting. V'natan Sefer Lekol Shevet V'Shevet. So, he was writing it and gave to each of those Israeli tribes, 12 tribes, he gave to each tribe a Sefer Torah. The Sefer Echad Tannaim and Amoraim. So one of them he was cherishing inside the Aron. We will learn about it a bit later. La'ad forever. Shnema lakoach et Sefer Torah ze v'samtim oisei mitzad Aron bris Hashem Elokeichem. So you should put that to cherish it forever, so you will have the real original testament from the testament from God Himself, and what God told Moshe Rabbeinu to write. So Moses, all right. The mitzvah, which is the mitzvah shehi perusha Torah, we are the mitzvah, which is the interpretation of the Torah. Look at Hava, he didn't write it down. He was teaching it to the elders and to Yeshua, which was his student, and the rest of the Israelites. The entire thing, this in particular, you will cherish to save and fulfill. All right, that was written in the Sefer Dvarim, the Perek Yud Gimel, which is the 13th Perek, and therefore that's called the Torah Sheba'al Peh, because it's a verbal tradition, or a tradition which was given from a generation to generation. It was taught by Moshe Rabbeinu to the entire nation. So even though the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral tradition, was not written, Limda Moshe Rabbeinu kula bebet dino l'shivim skenim. So Moshe Rabbeinu was taught, like he taught the entire Torah to the 70 elders. We will farther down, we'll learn who are they. The Elazar, Pinchas, and Yeshua. So the Elazar, Pinchas, and Yeshua. Elazar was the son of Aaron HaKohen, and Pinchas was the grandson of Aaron HaKohen, which was Moshe Rabbeinu's brother. Shloshtam kiblu Moshe. 3 of them they received from Moshe Rabbeinu himself. So he was given the oral tradition to Yeshua, which is his greatest student, the first student, Yeshua ben Nun. That's Yeshua ben Nun, and not what everyone think, other names that reminds the name Yeshua. Yeshua was like in the Torah, he was Yeshua ben Nun, was a Talmud, was a student of Moshe Rabbeinu. So in his entire life, he was learning that oral tradition. And many elders, they received from the Yeshua the oral tradition. Eli was a Kohen, like a high priest, like the high priest, what the common thought about high priest today. High priest is Kohen Gadol. So Eli was from the descendants of Aaron HaKohen. So Aaron HaKohen started like a lineage of Kohanim. It starts from Aaron HaKohen, which is Moshe Rabbeinu's brother. And then the track, his sons became Kohanim, and then his grandson, he received like a father promise from God. And that promise was carrying up to today. We have still Kohanim. Kohanim, when I say Kohanim, you will understand that those are the descendants of Aaron HaKohen and Pinchas, of course. So we'll talk about that. What does that mean in today's terms of what is a Kohen? So Am Israel is divided to 3 type of people. There is the Israel, which is a regular Israelite, which descends from the tribes. There are 12 tribes. And we have Levi, which is a descendant from the tribe of Levi. And we have Kohen. Kohen, they're also from the tribe of Levi. But the difference is they are also the descendants of Pinchas, which Pinchas was he was the grandson of Aaron HaKohen, all right? So he was the son of Elazar, which was the son of Aaron HaKohen, all right? So we're going to go down the track and go a little bit farther down in history. The Kiblu Elim and Azukenim, Eli was also a Kohen, and he received from the Zukenim, from the elders, and from Pinchas. And then we have Shmuel. Shmuel was a prophet, and he kibel me Ali uvestino. He received the oral tradition from Eli and Betino. David kibel me Shmuel vestino. And David the Melech, King David, is very famous. You probably heard about him. For sure heard about him. So David kibel me Shmuel uvestino. So he received from Shmuel the prophet, and his surrounding Beis Din, which is like a court of Jewish scholars, of people like students and people they were very holy. And David HaMelech, King David, he received from Shmuel and Beis Dino. Achia Shiloini, also a name of a prophet. He was from the people that went out of Egypt. When the Israelites went out of Egypt, he was one of them. The Levi Haya, he was a Levi. So the Achia Shiloni was a Levi. V'shama men Moshe, v'haya katan b'mei Moshe. So Yaya katan b'mei Moshe, he was very young in the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. So he met him, he got to see him, but he was very young. V'hu kibel mit David o Beis Dinai. So he received the oral tradition from David, King David, and his congregation. So Eliyahu kibel ma'achia Shiloni. Eliyahu, Elijah, the prophet, he received from Achia Shiloni. So also what we heard about before, Achia Shiloni was also a prophet, and Beis Dina in his congregation. The Elisha kibel me'Eliyahu u Beis Dino. So Elisha was a student of Elijah. So he received from Eliyahu and Beis Dino from his congregation. V'Yehoyada HaKohen, so Yehoyada HaKohen, there is another Kohen named Yehoyada. Kibel me'Elisha Beis Dino, was a student of his. We'll go a little bit faster because it's a very long list, but keep a track, and you can always listen to it again and again until you'll be able to cope with the entire tradition. Just to let you know, those people are mentioned in the Tanakh, and some of them are mentioned in the Talmud, which is the main chibur for the oral tradition. That while we learning everything we know today about Jewish law from the Talmud. All right. So Yehoyada HaKohen kibel ma'Elisha Beis Dinai. So Yehoyada received from Elisha and his congregation. Zechariah kibel meYehoyada. Zechariah was also a prophet, and he received from Yehoyada and Beis Dina in his congregation. Hosea kibel meZechariah. Hosea is another prophet. He received from Zechariah, Beis Dina and his congregation. Amos kibel meYeshua Beis Dina, and that's Amos, the prophet Amos. So Yeshaya kibel meAmos u Beis Dina. So Yeshaya, he received from Amos and Beis Dina. Umicha kibel meYeshaya Beis Dina. V'Yoel kibel meMicha u Beis Dina. From Micha, he received from Micha and his congregation. V'Nachum kibel meYoel u Beis Dina. And you understand the picture. Nachum was also like a descendant, and he received the oral tradition from Yoel and his congregation. Chavakuk was also a prophet, received from Nachum. So each one receiving from the one previous to him. Mitzvanya kibel mechavakuk Beis Dina. V'Yirmiyah kibel mitzvanya Beis Dina. Uvarach ben Neriah kibel meYirmiyah Beis Dina. V'Ezer Beis Dina kibel Baruch Beis Dina. All right. So far, so good. So that's just how things move down the generation all the way to us. So we were able to receive it like completely from them. And then after that, Badinu Shel Ezra. So Ezra was also a prophet. He had like also a congregation. The big large assembly. So the big large assembly was a group of Torah scholars and prophets, and most of the traditions we have, they received it from the list we named before. V'hem Chagai, Zechariah, Malachi, V'Daniel, Hananiah, Mishal, Azariah, Nehemiah ben Chachalio, Mordechai, Zerubbabel. So all of these are mentioned in the Tanakh. So most of them are mentioned in in separate books. And many Torah scholars with them. Tashlu Me'av Esim Skenim, like together there were 120 elders. So if you heard the term of 120 elders, you understand now where they got it from. So Acharon Mehem was Shimon HaTzadik. At the end of those, this assembly, historically, was a tzaddik, was a sage named Shimon HaTzadik. He was one of them, and he was the remaining of them. So everything we have today is from Shimon HaTzadik. He's the last of the tradition of the Anshe Knesset Agdola, like it says in Pirkei Avos, that we will learn what that is a bit farther down. It's more advanced. V'kibul Torah sheba'al peh mikulam, and he received the oral tradition from all of them. V'haya Kohen Gadol, he was a Kohen Gadol, a high priest of the temple that used to be in Jerusalem at